They don't pay us to think. They pay us to know. We know we can beat them. There's no excuses why we shouldn't. Win the game, period. W is on 3, man. Let's go. W on 3. 1, 2, 3, W.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sisters. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Luke. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report, week number 11 edition. First and foremost, I want to thank you for joining me as we are live premiering this on YouTube for the very first time, which means I'm currently in the chat discussion with you guys as you're watching this video. So I want to thank you for joining me live. For those of you who got the message on my community post, make sure you hit the like button on that and you leave a comment. And so I'll be doing those community posts from here on out as they finally gave me the authorization to be able to do so. I'll be putting up polls, asking you questions. Love your participation on doing that. So I look forward to doing that. And this is something that I may start doing moving forward because I miss the live banter back and forth with my fellow Redskin brethren and sistren. And so because of that fact, I want to be able to have that interaction with you. And I think the best way to be able to do it is to maybe premiere the Redskins Report, watch it with you guys, and answer your questions as we're watching the video together. And so I'm currently in the chat discussion with you right now. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to direct some questions towards me. I'll try to answer as many as possible. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to get to every single comment, but I'll try to get to as many of them as possible, and especially the ones that I deem the most pertinent. So make sure you ask great questions, and I'll try to answer as many as I can during the duration of the video. That being said, I want to also give you a quick reminder that I am on a bye week next week. Week 12 is always my bye week, so no Redskins Report next week. No Rapid React, no R3, no breakdown of the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, I always take a bye week during Thanksgiving. Helps me recharge the battery. It's a long season. It's been a long off season. This is my 1 week to take off and enjoy family, enjoy all of the fruits of my labor, as I recommend you do the same. This is a great time, Thanksgiving is, and so I recommend you spend it with family, friends, food, and of course, football and faith. Don't you forget that F as well. So I'll be enjoying all the Fs with my family. I ask that you do the same. We'll come back, reconvene week 13. We'll talk about the Cowboys game. Whether we win or lose, we'll break it all down, in addition to taking a look at the huge Monday Night Football matchup versus the Philadelphia Eagles that will be on the horizon in week 13. So again, no Redskins Report in week 12 and no R3, no Redskins Rapid React in week 12, as I will be on a bye week. That being said, Redskins are hosting the Houston Texans in week number 11. It's alumni week, and so basically it's the homecoming. I'm in my spirit. I've got the homecoming alumni throwback polo on, as you can see. So I'm all in the spirit of Redskins lore this week, and we got the big win in week number 10. I talked about how we were going to be able to really tell how good this team was from a mental standpoint. How much intestinal fortitude this team had. Did they have the toughness and the resolve that they showed us earlier after the week 4 shellacking or week 5 shellacking at New Orleans, when they bounced back, won 3 consecutive games? Were they going to show us that again, or were they going to buckle and wilt under the pressure of late season success? Redskins went into the game at 5-3. They were still atop the division after the ugly loss at home to Atlanta. Were they going to allow the outside noise? Were they going to allow the rest of this season to go down the drain? Or were they going to step up and find a way despite the injuries? There was a lot of adversity going into the Week 10 matchup versus Tampa. A lot of injuries, a lot of unknown components and variables affecting the team going into that football game that could have easily turned into a 31-13 ass whooping on the road against a 3-5 Tampa Bay football team. And honestly speaking, in past years, that's probably what would have happened against the number 1 rated offense going into the game, and from a yardage standpoint. And we saw why. They racked up over 500 yards of total offense on us in the game, but the Redskins had the most important number on their side, and that was points. At the end of the game, you could also throw turnovers into that mix. Redskins forced 4 turnovers, didn't turn it over themselves, and that's how they were able to be victorious 16-3. So we'll put a bow on that before we move on to the massive matchup in week number 11 versus the Houston Texans, a matchup between 2 first-place teams, both at 6-3. Texans are riding a 6-game winning streak, and goddammit, for the life of me, I am upset that yet another team is coming off of a bye week, and here we are waiting for them fresh off of their bye. I don't understand why we play so many teams coming off their bye. We haven't had success with that this season. We're hoping that we change the tide in week number 11 as the Falcons came off their bye and destroyed us just a week ago in week number 9. So in any event, let's talk about some nitpicks from the game before we get to the bow of the Tampa game and then go to the week 11 matchup versus the Houston Texans. Came through picking, nitpick. Came through picking, nitpick. So I'm nitpicking. Let's nitpick, shall we? And the first nitpick is Tressway not getting enough credit for what he's done for us this season. I'm guilty. I'll raise my hand. Guilty as charged. Not one time did I mention the name Tressway in last week's victory over Tampa Bay during the R3. Shame on me. I've done a pretty good job of making sure I mention special teams, but generally I gloss over Tressway and go straight to D-Hop. And even though D-Hop was phenomenal with 3 field goals made in the game, Tressway continues to be one of the best players on our football team this year. He was probably the best player we had on the team last year, too. And this year, he's kicking the football phenomenally with the offense sputtering and a lot of times drives stalling out right around midfield or so. It's easy to just kick the football into the end zone and the other team started the 20. Tressway has done a phenomenal job of pinning teams inside their own 10. Hell, in this game, inside their own 5. And he doesn't have a touchback all season long. Think about that for a second. We're going into our 10th game of the season. We're going into week 11, and the man doesn't have a touchback this season. Do you understand how hard that is? Especially when you're dealing with a Redskins offense that's punting quite a bit. That's number one. Number two, also punting from right around midfield because drives are stalling out as we approach the other team's side of the football field or in the other team's territory, and then the drive stalls out. And so you're kind of close up. You're not able to put full leg into it. How many times has he flipped field position for us? How many times have we had a drive go 3 and out and we were punting from our own 27 and Tress booms a 54-yarder with no return? Also, give the guys on the outsides, those gunners, some credit as well. Our special teams has been damn near flawless this season, and the guy spearheading that attack on the punt return unit, Tressway, give him credit. He has been outstanding. That guy should be an all-pro this year, and he should be a Pro Bowler, if nothing else. Next nitpick for me, tackling in this game. It was atrocious. When I went back and watched, I was appalled. And look, I was appalled the first time I watched, and it was even worse the second time I watched. We missed tackles on the running back, and we made Peyton Barber look like he was the second coming of Barry Sanders in this game. We thought he had him. DJ Swearinger has him for a 4-yard loss in the backfield. Somehow, he bounces off of his own lineman. DJ Swearinger doesn't wrap up, and somehow he comes out of a 4-yard loss and gets a 4-yard gain. Can't happen. Somehow, Jonathan Allen tracks this guy to the sidelines. Looks like a meager gain of 1 or 2 at the end of the first quarter. Somehow, he breaks out of it and gets a gain of 13. What are we doing? I don't understand. Ryan Fitzpatrick, you would have thought he was Michael Vick's second cousin in this game because, goddammit, we couldn't tackle Ryan Fitzpatrick to save our life in this game. Look, I told you, I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitty is a gamer, and you understand why his teammates love him because he does whatever is necessary. I told you he'll put his body on the line, and he was just maneuvering his way through the pocket, dancing off of this guy, dancing off of that guy, juking this guy, juking that guy, making this guy miss, all in the comfy confines of the pocket. All right, small, tight, confined space, making guys miss and getting positive yardage. I thought our tackling in this game might have been the worst that it was all season long. Next nitpick, only getting 3 points off of the Stroh pick. Look, our offense isn't good enough to drive the length of the field 4 or 5 times throughout the course of the game. It's just not how we're wired right now. Maybe help's on the way. Maybe we get JC Ice back. Maybe we get Quinn back. Maybe things start to change for us offensively when we get some of our weaponry back. But right now, we're not in a position where we're going to score 27 points. We're just not going to do it right now. And because of that, when the defense gives us a great opportunity to score, when they set us up with prime field position like Stroh did after the pick inside the Tampa 15, you can't get a field goal off of that. That has to be 7. And I'm almost at the point where I'm challenging the defense. Get in the end zone on that pick. Don't leave it up to the offense because you see they can't be trusted. Get in the end zone, make that pick worth 6, make it a house call. Let's keep it moving. But I'm not putting it on the defense. They did their job. They set the offense up in prime real estate. You've got to make that count for 6, not 3, 6. So that was really disappointing. Find a way in the end zone. Tampa blitzed us on that 3rd down. Alex Smith didn't handle it well. Find a way to make that a touchdown and not a field goal attempt. Next nitpick, Mo Harris on a jet sweep. Next nitpick, why is AD getting garbage time carries? After the fumble by Fitty late in this ball game, on the P Boogie and Showstopper sack, forced fumble and recovery by Showstopper, why are we having AD in the game with garbage time carries? At that point of the game, the Buccaneers pretty much were out of timeouts. The time was not on their side. At the point where the Buccaneers pretty much were out of the game, it's time for Capri Bibbs, baby. It's Bibbs time. Put Bibbs in the game. Let him have all the carries. And let's get this thing out of here without AD incurring any more carries and touches than he needs to. He already had 20 carries in the game, or at that point about 16 or so. That was fine. I was good with that. Look, the guy's 33 years old. Remember, there's not a lot of tread left on these tires, all right? Let's not kill the guy if we don't have to. Without him, there's no us. You have to understand that. Capri Bibbs, he's fresh. Put him in the game at the end when the game's no longer in doubt and let him finish it off, not our bell cow who happens to be 33 years old, who happens to be dealing with a shoulder injury, who happens to also be dealing with a knee injury. Let's not put him out there at risk at the end of a game when the game already is in hand. Thank you. Next nitpick, and our final nitpick of today, wasting all 3 of our second half timeouts. Are you kidding me? All right. You guys know how big of a stickler I am for preserving second half timeouts. I told you, I don't care what you do with your first half timeouts. What you do with your first half timeouts is your business. I could care less. But the second you start wasting frivolously our second half timeouts, I have a problem because you don't know how the game is going to go. The second half timeouts, as I always say, are like precious jewels. You must take care of them as if your life depended on it. And I get it. You don't want a 5-yard delay of game penalty. I get it. Communication gets screwed up from time to time. It happens. But then it shouldn't happen 3 times. You shouldn't be out of timeouts with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter. That can't happen. We didn't have a single timeout. With about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, we were completely out of timeouts. And had Tampa somehow magically rallied with 2 scores in the final 6 minutes of the game, and the Redskins got the football back with 57 seconds left, guess what? We wouldn't have had a timeout. We would have had to drive the length of the field with no timeouts. Where's the psychological sense in that? You need to wash your face and get your mind right. Stop wasting second half timeouts. Thank you. And those are my nitpicks from week number 10's victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's head to the bow and go. Redskins bow and go. All right, so let's put the bow on the victory in week 10 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, it was not pretty on the offensive side of the football. Generally, it's not going to be. It usually isn't. So that was no surprise. The defense wasn't at its best in this game. Obviously, they gave up over 500 yards of total offense, as I mentioned on the R3 and mentioned tonight already. They weren't their sharpest against the run. I think a lot of that was just poor tackling. I didn't think Peyton Barber killed us when we actually gang tackled, rallied to the football, and wrapped him up. But he made us look silly a couple of times with guys not wrapping up, looking for kill shots and allowing him to bounce off of guys. And there wasn't help, and we didn't rally to the football like we normally do. And he was able to get yards after contact. And that was disgusting to watch a couple of times. Ryan Fitzpatrick, if he can do that to us, that is terrifying to think about what Deshaun Watson will be able to do in the pocket if we can't corral Ryan Fitzpatrick. If Fitty is making us look sick in the pocket, ducking and dodging and duping guys, then what do you think Deshaun Watson's going to be able to do? That's why mobile quarterbacks scare me. Because, A, we don't have enough speed on defense, especially at the linebacker position outside of Zach Brown. And B, we do not bottle up quarterbacks well enough. Guys generally get outside the pocket on us. Guys usually find a rush lane. We love twisting and stunting and running TE games and ET games. And all of a sudden, there's a big gaping hole for the quarterback to escape. We're in man-to-man coverage. Nobody's watching him. And next thing you know, guys out the back door for 44. We've got to find a way to be a little bit more stout up front and better in our pursuit lanes when rushing the quarterback, especially on a week like this week where Deshaun Watson won't hesitate to tuck it and run and go much faster than slow. Nonetheless, the Buccaneers helped us win last week. We'll take it any way we can get it. They aided us and abetted us in our 16-3 victory, but that was a gut check for the fellas. I thought they stepped up to the plate with a number of injuries, and they found a way to win. And I told you it wasn't going to be pretty, but we needed to find a way to go and win that game. I didn't know how we were going to do it. I just knew we needed to do it. I think it's a galvanizing win because if you lose to Tampa Bay, you're 5-4, and now you're looking at the Cowboys who just won, and they're 4-5. You're looking at the Eagles who just lost, they're 4-5, and now you're only a game up in the division. Instead, you take care of business the way you're supposed to. You're 2 games up now on each team in the division outside of the Giants who are long gone. And now you feel good about the prospects of potentially winning this division. And you look up, Falcons are hosting the Cowboys. Saints are hosting the Eagles. If we can find a way to beat the Houston Texans in week number 11, you could be talking about a 3-game cushion with 6 games to go. I like our chances in that scenario. And so with that being said, let's go from the bow of Tampa Bay's W in the Tampa Bay W in week number 10 to the big time home matchup, alumni weekend versus the Houston Texans in week number 11 as we make the transition. Here's the thought process in this football game. Obviously, I feel like we're staring in the mirror, but obviously before we get into the details of this game and what we need to do to try to get a W, everything remains the same in terms of what the Redskins need to do to get the win. We can't turn it over. We have to. I thought we did a pretty good job with penalties against Tampa Bay. That's something that really hurt us the week prior against Atlanta. But even in the Tampa Bay game, there are a few penalties that called back some of our more explosive plays, especially in the run game. Those need to cease. We can't afford to beat ourselves up because we're not a team that can convert 2nd and 17 and turn that into a fresh set of downs. We have to stay ahead of the down and distance, and the best way to do that is to avoid penalties at all costs. But nonetheless, if we can force turnovers, the Redskins currently have the longest streak in the National Football League. 13 straight games with at least one turnover forced. That, of course, dates back to last season. 4 straight games to end the season last year. In the first 9 games of this season, the Redskins have created at least one turnover. And we've done a really good job of protecting the football as well. Redskins are plus 11 in the league in turnovers. That's good enough for 3rd behind Chicago and Cleveland this season in terms of turnovers and the turnover differential and margin. So Redskins doing a great job, and that's what comes with the Alex Smith package. You don't turn it over a lot. When the Redskins defensively are creating turnovers. Deshaun Watson has been very stingy of late, and the Houston Texans are benefiting from him not turning over the football. He didn't turn it over in their last win versus the Denver Broncos. He didn't turn it over the week prior to that versus Jacksonville. When he doesn't turn it over, this team plays their best brand of football. When he does turn it over, you have a chance to beat the Houston Texans, like the Giants did earlier in the season for their lone win until last week's win on Monday night versus the San Francisco 49ers. So this Texans team can be beaten if you can create turnovers. And Watson, much like the quarterback we just played against, will take risks, will give you opportunities to pick him off. If those opportunities present themselves, we have to be ready, willing, and able to take full advantage of those opportunities. Unlike last week, though, the Texans generally do not beat themselves. They're not going to give us the game. If we're going to beat the Texans, we're going to have to earn it. They've got 2 number 1 wide receivers. Hell, we're over here struggling, trying to find one number 1 option. They've got 2 now, and so that's going to be a tough task in itself because Josh Norman can't star cover both of them, all right? Obviously, he's probably going to be checking Nuke the entire game. And if he is, that means Demaryius Thomas is probably going to be singled up because I don't expect Dunny to play this week again. And so that's probably going to leave Demaryius Thomas DT88 on one of our rookies, whether it be Danny Johnson or Greg Stroman. Either way, you're probably going to see a steady diet of 8 to 10, 12-yard cushions, often soft, to not allow anything over the top. And the Texans, they do struggle. Remember the Sunday night game versus the Dallas Cowboys. They struggle in the red zone. So if we employ that same approach, bend but don't break, there was a game against the Giants earlier in the season where Deshaun Watson turned it over not once but twice in the red zone. So you can allow them to move the football. They find it hard to score just like we do. Their last win against Denver, 19-17, okay? They're not scoring a ton of points. That's why I started off this go portion of the Bow and Go by saying, I feel like we're looking into the mirror in this game. We're looking into the AFC version of ourselves. The only difference is they have the utmost confidence in their quarterback's ability to get it done. They also have a number 1 wide receiver that they trust. And oh, by the way, their pass rush is legit as it gets. Other than that, you're looking in the mirror at the same team. They find it hard to score. They have a quarterback that can make plays with his legs, but doesn't do a lot in terms of scoring the ball. They have a defense that doesn't give up a bunch of points. They can turn you over. They look like us, and they heavily rely on the run game. They look like us, a lot like us, as a matter of fact. These are the types of games we've fared well in this season. The teams that look like us, i.e. Carolina, i.e. Dallas, we fared well against those teams this season. It's been the explosive, dynamic teams that have given us problems. Saints, Falcons, those teams have given us fits this season. That's not what the Houston Texans are. But don't make the mistake of thinking that they can't become that team if we make mistakes and help them become that team in a week. They do have a 30-point performance under their belt this year at Indy in their first win of the season. So they do have the ability, and now with a full week of practice under his belt for Demaryius Thomas, that whole off week, that bye week, he probably got more acclimated with their playbook. They're going to try to work him in more so than they did in the game before the bye week. So again, he should be a lot bigger a part of their offense than he was going into the bye week. So again, we're going to have our hands full with those receivers. They also like a couple of their young tight ends in addition to one of their veteran tight ends. So they've got some stuff out there. I'm a huge Lamar Miller fan. He's a guy that it's not flashy with him anymore. I liken him to Clinton Portis, a guy that came into the league with an abundance of speed, but because he's an in-between the tackles runner, he's not the same explosive guy he once was, but he can churn out 4 a pop, and if they give it to him 22 times, he'll be right around 100 yards. We have to do a good job of stopping the run. We have not done that in the last 2 weeks. After 3 straight weeks of shutting down running backs, top-notch running backs in this league, the last 2 weeks, we've allowed NFC South opponents to come and really give it to us on the ground. Tevin Coleman had a great day against us in week 9, week 10. Even though they didn't run it a ton, Peyton Barber, 13 carries, 61 yards. That's over 5 yards a carry or close to it, more like 4.6, 4.7, somewhere in there. Still way too many goddamn yards per carry for a team like Tampa that doesn't run it well, for a team like Atlanta that didn't run it well. We gave up way too many yards. I think I already told you why that was. Can't be overly aggressive in the box, in the run game, when you're protecting some corners out on the outside that you just don't believe in. So I don't know what the Redskins are going to do this game. You may see another situation where it's a light box. We can't overcommit to the run because we're trying to protect Danny Johnson or Stroh, whatever the case may be. We can't afford to be given, because it's unlike the Falcons and unlike the Buccaneers, especially the Buccaneers last week. They're not going to abandon the run. If they're getting 4 a pop on the ground, they're going to continue to pound it down our throats. They're not going to stop. All right, they're comfortable with 40 rushes and only throwing it 19 times if that's what's working. So unlike some of the teams we've seen earlier this season, like Carolina, who abandoned the run, why, I don't know. Unlike a team like Green Bay that was having tons of success early in the game and just stopped running the football. Same with Tampa. They're not going to stop running the football. They're going to continue to pound it if we can't shut down their run game. So that's going to be a point of emphasis, because if we're giving up 4 and 5 and 6 and chunks of yardage on the ground, they're going to continue to pound it down our throats. And remember, Deshaun Watson is a guy that also must be accounted for in the run game. Similar to us. Again, a lot of similarities in this football game between the two teams. So I'm looking forward to this game. The Texans are a quality opponent, and I think this is the kind of team we match up very well with. But again, the lack of offense from us scares me to death. They don't score a ton of points either, but I think they're way more capable of putting up 24 than we are. And so that makes me very nervous. And I'll tell you something else that makes me a lot more nervous than, say, against Carolina or even Dallas, who I think has a really good defense. I've told you that a number of times, is that this Texans defense, they can get after the quarterback. And if you haven't noticed, our offensive line, albeit they played well, it was against Tampa, and their defense, not that good. This Texans defense, much better up front. Whitley Merciless, of course, Jadeveon Clowney, and J.J. Watt. All of those guys have the ability to put pressure on Alex Smith. We know Alex Smith has not handled pressure well this season. I am not looking forward to going up against that front without Trent Williams. I don't have any problems with Ty Nsekhe at left tackle. Morgan Moses is banged up, and he got even more banged up in week number 10 versus Tampa. I'm not even sure he's going to be able to play this week. I was surprised he played last week, but if he does play, he's not 100%. And if he goes down in this game, then you're asking rookie tackle Jerron Christian to come in. I hope that doesn't happen, because if that is the case, they may have a field day on the right side of our offensive line. And remember, we're already down a guard or 2 guards in Sheriff. And, of course, I already talked about missing Sean Laval. So Cooper stepped in. He was solid. But you also got Tony Bergstrom on the other side. it could be a disaster if the offensive line is having problems up front blocking the likes of Clowney, Watt, and Merciless. Remember, we already struggle as it is. Tampa Bay was the worst defense statistically in the league, and we were only able to muster one touchdown in the game. That was it. 3 field goals, 1 touchdown. And one of those field goals was gift wrapped by the defense. So if we couldn't score against the worst defense statistically in the league, there's not much confidence on my end that we're going to be able to score more against a much better defense in the Texans. The only thing that gives me hope, and there's no guarantee to this, is that we get some help in week number 11, that maybe Trey Quinn is active this week. Maybe Jamison Crowder is ready to go. Maybe we get some help and some relief in the form of more dynamic players so that we don't have to hand off a jet sweep to Mo Harris, or we don't have to throw a bubble screen to Mo Harris. I hope we get help, because if we don't, it's going to be a long day for the Redskins versus the Houston Texans, who I really believe that can really shut us down offensively. We don't score a lot anyway, and the little that we do score, they're going to make it tough for us to do that in this game. And I think offensively, if the Texans are able to run the football and establish the run, we could be in for a long day. If we can stop their run, slow them down, make Deshaun Watson feel like he has to beat us, force him into a couple of throws that he might want back, we may have a chance to come out of FedEx Field. And we heard what Josh Norman said. I'm hoping that that inspires the crowd to come out and make it a raucous environment. Look, the Texans don't come to FedEx very often. How many Texans fans could possibly be in the DMV area? This should be a predominantly Redskins crowd. I expect the Redskins faithful to show up and show out, and hopefully help the fellas rally to get a big win. Remember, if we win this game, we'll be 7-3 for the first time since 1996. That's how inept we've been as a franchise, that we haven't been this good, potentially, after 11 weeks of football, or 10 games, whatever way you want to slice it. If the Redskins had a later bye, it doesn't matter. After 10 games, we haven't been 7-3 since 1996. You're talking about over 2 decades worth of inept football. Ineptitude can be somewhat erased if we can find a way to get this win on alumni week and get the Texans. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not confident in this game, which takes me to my final outcome. It's the final outcome. Whoa, yeah. All right, so I told you that we match up very well with the Texans, but I can't tell you who's going to play, who's not going to play. That might impact my decision making as the week progresses. But right now, I'm not sure about Momo. I really think Morgan Moses may be out for this one, man. He was in pretty bad shape at the end of that game. And I heard some people that are close to the situation pretty much say this guy had trouble walking, last week. And he injured himself. I remember at the end of the game, one of those possessions late in the game, he came off the field and he was grimacing so bad. I was like, man, I feel for Momo. He's such a tough SOB, because he goes out and with the rash of ailments that this man has, he still manages to play week in and week out, man. The guy is a Iron Man, if I've ever seen one on this football team. That being said, his injuries may prohibit him from being a factor in this game if he does play. I mean, you got some real serious pass rushers in this game that might be able to take advantage of a compromised Morgan Moses. Seriously. Like last week, Tampa Bay doesn't have anybody that scares you. And Ty Nsekhe pretty much put the locks down on Jason Pierre-Paul. We heard nothing from JPP in that game. It could be totally different in this game. I have nothing but the utmost confidence in Ty Nsekhe, however. But even he had some injuries and had to come out of the game temporarily. So, again, we're so banged up, it's not even funny. And this may be the week where a team takes full advantage of the injuries up front. And it makes me nervous. And the last time I told you I was nervous about a game, I went with my heart. And I told you that's never a smart play. That's never a good idea. I told you I'm not doing that again. And I went with my heart, and the Redskins got their ass torn to shreds, 38-14 at the hands of the Falcons. I'm not doing that again. I'm going with my head. I hate to do this, but and the crazy part is, I had this as a win before the season started. And I told you that's an exercise in futility that I absolutely hate going through. Wins and losses before the season starts. We don't know who's going to be good. When we looked at the schedule, Jacksonville looked like this treacherous game. Jacksonville stinks. By the time we get there, they may have packed it in for the season. You never know what these games are going to be. The Eagles, we thought they were going to be murderers row, and they still might be a problem for us. It's family business. You know how that goes. But bottom line is, the Eagles, we thought were going to be winning the division at the time of our two matchups with them. They may be out of the playoff race by then. Who's to say? They've got some tough games coming up. Saints, Rams, they might stink by the time we get to them. And so, I hate going through the schedule and giving out wins and losses, but this is one of the games that I said the Redskins were going to win. And my explanation for that was, I don't know why. I'm being a fan. Leave me alone. I'm picking the Redskins to win. I had no explanation because all signs point to us losing this game. We don't play well against mobile quarterbacks. See Carson Wentz. See Dak Prescott. See Cam Newton. All those guys have had tremendous success against us in their careers. So we don't handle mobile quarterbacks well at all. You saw Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he's not even in the class of a Cam Newton, of a Dak Prescott, of a Carson Wentz, and he was making us look silly, maneuvering in and out of the pocket. Guys couldn't tackle him. He looked like a slithery snake out there. So what do you think Deshaun Watson's going to do? If he gets to the perimeter, do you really think Ryan Kerrigan is going to be able to contain him, or Mason Foster is going to be able to stay with him step for step? He's going to outrun those guys. So nothing in this game points to us winning. Our offensive line is banged up. They've got one of the best pass rushes in all of football. I just don't like this matchup. We already don't score enough points. This game doesn't look like one where we're going to score a bunch of points. It pains me to say this, but I think we go into Thanksgiving on a short week versus the Cowboys with a loss. And maybe that will motivate the fellas to come back and get a win and sweep the Cowboys. I'd love to go into that game with tremendous momentum and a 7-3 mark, riding a 2-game win streak, just like the last time we played the Cowboys. We were on a 2-game win streak. I believe we were on a 2-game win streak. No, we were on a 1-game win streak. And we beat them, and then the following week we won again and made it a 3-game win streak. I'd love to get to the Cowboys game on a 2-game win streak and make it 3 on Thanksgiving, but I'm sorry, I just don't see it happening. You guys tell me what you think. What do you think are the keys to the game? How do you think the Redskins can find a way to get to 7-3 on the season and defeat the Houston Texans at home? They don't score a bunch of points, which gives me hope that we can find a way to win this game, but their defense, I think, may be the difference. Our offense being as bad as it is, us probably not getting our stuff back. I'm still not sure about Crowder. Still don't know about Quinn. Don't know about Morgan Moses. Don't know if Ty Secchi's going to be able to finish the game. So many questions, not enough answers. How is Cooper going to do with Watt in front of him and Clowney in front of him and not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Even though Gerald McCoy isn't anything to sneeze at, all right? It's totally different when you're looking at a former defensive MVP of the league across from you. It's a totally different animal. I'm just not confident in our offensive line's ability to protect Alex Smith and open up rush lanes for Adrian Peterson. And because of that, I got the Texans getting the win. Boy, do I hope I'm wrong and the Redskins find a way to win. I am a Redskins fan etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. It's Alumni Week, and so hopefully the alumni bring us some good luck and some fortune as we go into a big stretch of the season for us. Texans, then you got the Cowboys, family business, quick turnaround. Thanksgiving should be a lot of fun. And then after that, you get the 11-day layoff and you get an extra day, Monday Night Football, Eagles on the road, more family business. Big stretch for the Redskins. After that, if I'm not mistaken, it's Giants. So you're talking about 3 consecutive NFC East games before then hitting the road for 2 straight against Jacksonville and Tennessee, and then finishing up the season at home versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm your man, Louie T. signing off. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me on this premiere. Hopefully you had a good time, and hopefully we'll do this again in the future. Remember, week 12, I'm on a bye week. No Redskins report, no R3. I'll see you, though, on Sunday at the conclusion of Redskins and Texans. Have a good one.
Louie T.